The average email agency owner makes no money, and it all comes down to their variable costs. In plain English, what I mean is that every time you close a new client, you have to hire more staff to deliver the service. This dramatically increases your costs and it decreases your profit margins. So in this video, I'm going to show you a better model. A model where you can fix your costs at a very low level whilst making more and more and more money from every client you sign. Okay, so if you're struggling right now with low margins and paying money that you don't want to pay for contractors and freelancers, then you need to do what I'm showing you in this video. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is just explore this typical scenario. All right, so at the top here, you have your email marketing agency. Now, as a typical agency owner, you're going to close a client, okay? So you might close your first client. And with this client, you might charge them 1K or 2K per month for the service that you are delivering, okay? So typically what we see here is that the average agency owner undercharges, okay? You're not charging enough. And I'm going to explain why you're not charging enough in a moment here. So what happens is you start to do the service on your own, okay? So here you are. You've closed the client and you're desperately trying to fulfill the service that you've promised them, okay? But what happens is you quickly become very much overworked, okay? And the service that you are promising to deliver just doesn't get delivered, okay? You're not a graphic designer, you don't know how to write copy, and you're not a technical expert, okay? You don't have any sort of technical expertise when it comes to managing their ESP like Klaviyo. But miraculously, you manage with your outreach systems to close a second client. Okay, so you're already stretched with this first client. They're already grumbling. Delete that. They're already grumbling. Okay, so they're not awfully happy with the service that you're providing. Maybe they're on a 90-day retainer that's coming to an end, and you think with confident certainty that they're not going to renew with you. Okay, but somehow, by the grace of God, you sign another client. Okay, and you think, right, I need to start hiring. So I actually need to find people who can deliver this service for me. And at this point, maybe you're making 3 to 5K per month, okay? Maybe it's actually you're doing that with a third client or anywhere up to 5 clients, okay? You're making up to sort of 5K per month, all right? Bear with me while I write this out. My handwriting is very slow. So you start to look for contractors and quickly you go out into the marketplace and you think, right, I'm going to try and find a designer to actually design some new templates. I'm not a designer, my designs suck. I'm going to pay a graphic designer to work for this client, client number 2. Okay, I'm going to continue delivering the designs for my first client. You know, I burnt the boats there, burnt the bridges. This client, I'm going to actually step up, spend some money and pay for their graphic designs from a professional standpoint. Okay, but quickly you realize that the best graphic designers charge high fees. Okay, so they're charging around $100 to $150 per email. Okay, so not per month, per email. And for client number 2, you're creating this month 6 campaigns, and maybe you've got 2 times 3 email automation flows. Okay, so flows that have 3 emails in them, and you've agreed with the client that you're going to build 2 of those flows, but you've also got 6 campaigns to design on top of it. Now, all of a sudden, you're looking at your costs ramping up. Okay, and you realize that in order to pay this graphic designer, you're going to be actually spending anywhere between, you know, 1,000 to 1.8K just for that single client, client number 2. Okay, bear in mind they're only paying you $1,000 to $2,000 per month. All right. So very quickly you see that this isn't going to add up. Okay, and what we're not including here is paying anybody to write copy or to be client facing and actually manage the client. So you're still doing the client meetings and you're not paying for a technical expert or anybody to actually optimize their account or solve problems that you don't have the expertise to solve. And again, you find that your service starts to slip and the client becomes unhappy. And the possibility of basically bringing on a new client fills you with dread. Okay, so you start to think, for the money I'm making, this doesn't warrant the stress. My clients are unhappy. I'm getting it in the neck, left, right, and center. I'm having to be a graphic designer, a copywriter, a technical expert, an account manager, a business owner, an entrepreneur, an accountant. And you start to realize that this agency dream that you've been sold isn't a dream at all. Actually, it's miserable. Okay. And if you're anything like I was a few years back, you will be getting to a point where you'll negatively condition yourself to basically not want to close new clients. So you think, doesn't matter if a client pays me $3,000 a month or $5,000 or $2,000, my costs are getting so wildly out of control. I'm having to hire all these people. They're causing me headaches and stress all the time. I'm having to put out fires left, right, and center every single day. It just doesn't warrant the stress. I'm going to try drop shipping. I'm going to launch an AI agency. Maybe this agency space isn't for me. Okay. Now, the problem with this traditional agency model, I'm going to change my pen for this to really ram the point home, okay, is that it's broken. All right. This agency model, the traditional model, working on retainers like this, are broken. Okay. It's not going to pay you. It's not going to give you the life of freedom that you want, which is probably why you're starting a business like this. And having just 5 clients will incur costs basically that are so high, it won't even be worth having them as clients. Okay. Every new client 1, you're going to need account managers. You're going to need graphic designers. You're going to need copywriters. What else are you going to need? You're going to need more VAs for the back office. You might need a technical expert. Do TE there. Okay. And all of a sudden your $1,000 to $2,000 or $2,500 per month client isn't looking so juicy now. Your profit margins are just hemorrhaged. Okay. So what's a better way? And I'm glad you asked because I'm going to show you. All right. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you by changing my pen again here. All right. So let's draw a hard line here, a hard boundary in the sand. Now, in our agency, we switched from the traditional old school retainer model to selling and offering infrastructures. Okay. Now, if you haven't seen my other videos, where I explain the types of infrastructure and the builds that we actually deliver for our clients, it's very simple. And the kind of key differentiating point here is that on an old school retainer, you basically drag out your scope of works as an email agency over 6 to 9 months. You lock your clients into rigid contracts. You don't get paid enough per month, and they get very dissatisfied because you're basically under delivering value. Versus infrastructures where you basically do the same thing within a 24-hour period, but only after you get paid up front. Okay, and if this sounds too good to be true, I don't blame you for thinking that right now. But what you need to do is go back to all my other videos on the channel, and I'll show you exactly how we do it and how everybody else in the Ecom Email Accelerator is doing it and replicating our processes too. Okay, so look into that. I'll drop a link below too if you want to know how to close your next 5K, 6K, or 8K plus upfront client. Click the link, and if you like what you see, book a call with me. All right. But anyway, back to what we're discussing here, okay? Ultimately, it comes down to this. So you collect cash up front for an infrastructure build, as opposed to locking your clients into rigid, low-value monthly retainers, all right? On the back end, we cross-sell or we downsell ongoing monthly retainers to give our agency consistent projected cash flow. The third step here is that we streamlined our team. So I always preach achieving more with less. Okay, so I want to make the most money I can with the least amount of inputs. There's no point. One of my old business mentors said to me, Otto, there's no point to layer for layering's sake. Okay, so you might think that you get a client and you got to have an account manager, a client success team, and then you need an onboarding team, and then you need a member to be your graphic designer, your copywriter, whatever it might be. Don't layer for layer's sake. Okay, it's not a bad thing to want to scale your business, but scale down your team. Okay, that actually is an economy of scale, and it will give you higher profit margins, and that's exactly what we did, and how I'm going to show you now how you can do it too. Okay, so the way that we did this was, instead of having the old model where we would basically need, for every new client, we'd need an account manager, graphic designer, a copywriter, another virtual assistant, and a technical expert, where you're basically going to have to shell out over 5K plus per month. And ultimately, if you're not earning that from the client, you're just not going to be able to hire these guys, which means you have to do the service yourself, which means the quality of the service will dip and your life will be miserable. Okay, so it's a catch-22. Now, in order to avoid that scenario and escape that, which is what I did, I reduced my team, and I said, what if every new client I brought on didn't force me to have to go out into the marketplace desperately to hire people quickly that I'm not qualifying, that I actually don't know whether they can deliver for my agency or not, that I'm ultimately going to have to pay and risk my money, my cash, in order just to give them an opportunity to do the work. Okay, so I thought, well, what if I could just have 2 employees? Now, I'm not a graphic designer, but I thought at that time, I can do the client-facing stuff, I can do the sales, I can write copy, whatever it might be, but email marketing is highly visual and I can't do graphic designs, okay? And if you're sat there saying, I can do graphic designs, I'm great on Canva, you can't do graphic designs, okay? Stop using Canva designs for your clients' emails, all right? So I realized I needed a graphic designer. And then what I also realized was that I'd built a body of systems and processes and SOPs and basically a back office suite of automations and processes that would enable me to not have to hire a technical expert. So what I didn't want was to bring on new clients and say, go out into the marketplace to find somebody who's based in the UK or North America who is an email marketing expert, and they are 40 years old. They've been doing it for 20 years, not 30 years, 20 years. And they, have a monthly retainer of $3,000 and they're super expensive. And in my experience, some of those guys we've hired are super entitled and they don't want to get stuck into the trenches and be collaborative. And they don't want to be seen as, an employee at your agency. I wanted a way to avoid them. So I created a new job role. And the job role I created was what we call it's Klaviyo, but we'll cross that out. It's called a full stack Klaviyo implementer. All right. So if you use another ESP, it doesn't have to be Klaviyo, it can be a full stack implementer. But the nuts and bolts and the detail behind the full stack Klaviyo implementer is that they are not specifically a technical expert. You are not paying for a technical expert to do what you know is going to work for the clients, okay? When it comes to the full stack implementer, what this enables you to do is basically find virtual assistants, so administrative staff members that have transferable skills that you can provide SOPs and systems to that then carry out specific scope items for the clients that you've closed. And those specific scope items all fall down from the proposals and the contracts that you've closed your clients on. All right. Now, when it comes to your graphic designer and your full stack implementer, the graphic designer is responsible for designing the email templates and building them into Klaviyo. Okay, so they've got two roles, 1 + 2. That's what the designers do. Okay, and that's what you are going to pay them for. The full stack implementer does everything else. So if you find a good one, and you might have to pay slightly more for them, we're going to talk about what to pay them in a moment here, they will be able to write copy. Specifically if they are English native speaking, okay? Otherwise, the full stack implementer will be responsible for everything. The manual, hands-on, in the trenches work for the clients in their accounts. Manually scheduling campaigns, manually writing out the subject lines, manually selecting and choosing the send times, manually switching flows on. They are responsible for all the manual processes, okay? Now, what we do in our agency to keep our costs low and to manage our variable costs so that every time we close a new client, we don't have to ramp up our hiring costs, is we pay our contractors as such, okay? So when it comes to the graphic designers, we now have a junior graphic designer and we have a senior graphic designer. And again, that's to further increase profit margins for us, because what we can do is basically pay our junior graphic designer less for the client accounts that don't require super intricate designs, okay? Whereas we then pay slightly more for a more talented and experienced graphic designer for our client accounts that maybe already have quite good graphic designs and templates, but they just need, they need them taken to the next level. And for the junior graphic designers, we pay anywhere between $9 to $11 per hour. And we found great success. And this is, the luck of being in this space and just from our experience, you have to take my word for it. We've had great success with junior graphic designers from Eastern Europe. Okay, so the beauty of running an agency like this is that we can, it's the true measure of inclusivity and diversity here. Actually, in a real capitalistic sense, we can go and employ key staff members from talent pools internationally. Okay, we don't have to hire from our own countries. That's the benefit we have. And we can pay them really good rates. We can pay them a lot of money based on their local geography and their jurisdiction, okay? So it gives us a win, it gives them a win. Now, when it comes to a senior graphic designer, so for example, our junior graphic designer is based in Ukraine, okay? Now, when it comes to your senior graphic designer, you can expect to pay anywhere between $20 to $25 per hour. And again, don't ask me why or how. We have found great success with getting senior graphic designers from South America. Okay, kind of random, but that's the success we have had. All right. So with these 2 employees, we are basically able to onboard new clients, deliver upfront infrastructure builds within a 24-hour period of time, downsell and cross-sell ongoing retainers, where those clients are catered for by an account manager who's client-facing, by somebody who can write copy, somebody who knows what they're doing within Klaviyo, and somebody who, frankly, is actually better at just following instructions and SOPs and systems, as opposed to feeling any sense of entitlement or presenting to a client like it's their agency and like they know more than the agency owner, us, okay? But in any case, with all of these options here, we collect cash first up front, and then from there, from that cash that we have collected, it trickles down and we can start hiring employees and delivering the service, okay? So risk is totally reverse for us compared to the average agency owner, all right? So ultimately what it comes down to is agility. And as an agency, our USP, something we've thought very critically about over the last 5.5, 6 years, is we have great agility. And instead of having to pay technical experts to manage our client accounts, and instead of being in a position where believe me, I've been in this place in the past where we've been beholden to technical experts who won't give us, access back to our own client accounts, or they're trying to steal our clients from us, or they ghost us, whatever it might be. We just leverage these key 2/3 strategic hires, okay? So you only need 2, the full stack implementer and the junior graphic designer. So every new client we bring on it fills me with joy, okay? Whereas once, when we were running the agency under that traditional model, I negatively conditioned myself to not want to bring on another client. Once you start earning a certain amount of money with your business, money no longer becomes the motivator. It got to the point for me where I literally had to take a break from my agency and fire the clients we had at the time, because I just said, it doesn't matter. I don't want the money. I don't want the stress. I can't do it this way. And that's what that was the catalyst for me changing and adopting this model a few years back. Okay. But there is a kicker. All right. And the kicker is this. And again, we're going to go into red here because it's serious. Now, the kicker is that in order to do this and have a USP like this and an economy of scale like this, you need a system. All right. And in order to have, to benefit from this model I'm talking to you about, you need to have a back office suite that enables you to do so. Okay. So whether that's SOPs, step-by-step processes for your employees, clicked off the video there, step-by-step processes for your employees, automations, whatever it might be. Unless you have these, you're basically going to have so much administrative burden in your agency that it's going to be very difficult for you to hire these key individuals, okay? So this is a model that works incredibly well for us. It reduces my stress dramatically. If you want more hyper-specific insight and tutorials that will help you actually scale your email agency and not just give you theory and not just teach you how to create an email design on a template on Canva, or write email copy, or 10 subject lines that will work for your cosmetic brand client. If you want actual real in the trenches live feedback on what's working for us, then please consider subscribing to the channel. Turn the notification bell on, drop me a comment below. My next video might just give you the secret sauce that you need in order to scale before anyone else gets hold of it. All right, so hopefully guys, this has been another super strategic video. I've got a load more on the way, so stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, we'll catch up in the next vid. All right, cheers.